Welcome, everybody, to the Northeast Philadelphia History Network meeting. My name is Jack McCarthy. Until a couple of months ago, I was president of the Friends of Northeast Philadelphia History. And the Friends is the 501c3 incorporated organization that sponsors these monthly meetings. But we've had some reorganization, and I have stepped aside to run another project, which I'll tell you about in a second. But going forward, somebody else, probably our new president, Maureen Green, will be chairing these meetings. I've been chairing them for many years now. So anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute. But for everybody in Zoom, as I said, please mute yourselves. And we'll have the presentation, and then we will have questions, Q&A after. Those who are here in person, we're going to walk around with this microphone and give it to you, and you can ask your questions with the microphone. That way they'll go out also on Zoom. For you people on Zoom, please use the chat box, and we will answer your questions through the chat box. So, and then as always, after our meetings, there's refreshments, great desserts, and we invite everybody here in person to stay and socialize and network and chat. So the Northeast Philadelphia History Network, it's just a group of people that love local history. The way we communicate, there's many of you are regulars, so you know all this, but the way we communicate with everybody is by email and by Facebook. So there's a sign-in sheet going around. If you aren't on there, well, please sign in either way, but include your email address so we can be in touch with you, and then go to the Northeast Philadelphia History Network Facebook page and follow that page, and you'll get all the announcements of our meetings and events. And that's how we stay in touch. What are we up to, like 4,000 people on?
Just shy of 4,000.
On the email.
3,000 shy of 4,000.
Okay, yeah, so we have thousands of people following us on email, the email listserv, and also on Facebook. So we meet the first Wednesday of every month here. Occasionally we have site visits, but the first Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock. So October 2nd, the next meeting, Jim Schomper will, who is a retired surveyor, will discuss Thomas Home and early surveying. Thomas Home was the original surveyor general for Pennsylvania, William Penn's sort of chief agent here. And his 400th, the 400th anniversary of his birth is coming up. He was a very important figure in the founding of Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia specifically. So we'll have some a program on him on October 2nd. Then on November 3rd, Agnes Troulet, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, will be presenting remotely from France. She is a scholar of 17th and 18th century cartography, specializing in cartographic portrayal and recognition of the indigenous people of the Delaware Valley, primarily the Lenni Lenape. So that'll be November 6th. And then December 4th, our board member Lou Leskis will present historic photos of Northeast Philadelphia. So that's the lineup for the next couple of months. So again, please stick around for those of you here in person for desserts and networking. And those of you on Zoom, please put your questions in the chat box and stay muted for the entire presentation. Now, very briefly, we began a new project called the Poquessing Trail of History up in the Poquessing Creek area in Byberry in the far part of the Northeast. There's a number of historic sites and potential historic sites, and I'm directing a project that's grant funded that's going to knit all these sites together into a trail of history. And we're going to have programs like tours and events and talks, and there'll be an online version of the tour, a virtual tour. So it's kind of an exciting project, and because the Friends of Northeast Philadelphia History is one of the sponsors, and I'm directing the project, and getting paid with grant funds, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to stay on the board of the Friends. So I resigned from the board of the Friends of Northeast Philadelphia History so that there's no impropriety. And I'm managing this project, which you'll hear about as the project progresses. And then taking my place is Maureen Green, who's now the president of the Friends of Northeast Philadelphia History. So more about that as the project unfolds. It'll be several years an initiative. So without further ado, did you want to say anything, Maureen? Or you want to introduce? Okay, Maureen Green, now the president of the Friends, will welcome. This is many years. Yeah, thank you. So Maureen will introduce Fred, our speaker.
Thank you. And really thank you, Jack, for all you have done and all you are about to do, which I think is going to really be so important for the history of Northeast Philadelphia. So it's very close to the board's heart here. So we're very happy that he's doing it. I need to be over here. So I'm here to introduce Fred. Now this seems crazy because you all have known Fred for a lot longer than you know me, I think, right? Fred has been a vital part, and sometimes like it's the main part of the Northeast Philadelphia History Network, and he's going to present tonight on something that is really, obviously, every time we have the history fair, the maps are the thing that draw people in. The maps are so interesting, and he's going to go back 400 years in Northeast Philadelphia history to a time when it wasn't Northeast Philadelphia. And then there are maps. We didn't become Northeast Philadelphia even in concept until after the consolidation in 1854, and then nobody even called us that until way later. But here we are now, an important part of the city of Philadelphia, and Fred's got the maps to prove it. So without further ado, Fred.
Thank you.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, let me give you some announcements here. Sunday, September 8th, this coming Sunday, the Grand Army of the Republic will have Wounded for Life, the Post-War Journey of Two Union Soldiers by Robert Hicks. That will be a Zoom meeting. Here, give me that mic, please. Okay. That was September 6th. September 10th will be Historical Society of Frankfurt, The Enduring Legacy of the Marquis de Lafayette by Graham Brent. September 21st is the Camp William Penn Historical Lamont Day from 10 to 4. Wednesday, the October 2nd, is a hybrid NEPHN meeting. That will be with Jim Schomper talking about Thomas Home. The Historical Society of Frankfurt will have a meeting October 8th on Pennsylvania before Penn. And on October 20th, community fair at the Grand Open House at the Richard Wall House in Cheltenham. That's always a good time. We will be there along with many other historic organizations. Okay. We need more volume? Okay, I'm going to give myself more volume. Is that enough? Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay. This is the 1862 Smedley map, Atlas of the city of Philadelphia. Section 25, the first single sheet map of what will become Northeast Philadelphia. We hope it is. We hope it stays that way. We'll see how long it took to get here and maybe how long it'll stay that way. Well, we're not going to be able to predict that. We can predict it, but that's it. Please mute your mics at home. I can hear you washing the dishes or something. Thank you. Okay, here's some of the sources, map sources. Philogeo history. How many know of Philogeo history here? If you study maps or want to study maps, you will definitely want to get to go to philogeohistory.com online. They have many interactive maps of the Northeast, of all of Philadelphia, and it is a terrific free resource. You can put your address in and see where that was back in 1850, back in 1808 for that matter. Of course, there was nothing there in 1808, but the little red thing will show up. Philogeo History uses the Athenaeum of Philadelphia, the Historical Society of Frankfurt, and the map collection of the Free Library of Philadelphia primarily for their maps. They have some others too, but those three organizations have allowed the Philogeo History to scan their maps. They all three of those organizations have great map collections, and that is the source of the Philogeo History maps. There's another excellent map online for property owners in 1777 that Jim Duffin has put together. Another great source you can click on and see who was there in 1777. This is just as the revolution is beginning, and you can. He will give reference to deeds and other things, wills of the people that lived there, which is the way that we know they were living there. The other excellent online source is Historic MapWorks. They have some great overlays of historic maps on current overlays. So Historic MapWorks is another really good one. Okay, we're also going to acknowledge the Lenape. This is the home of Lenape, Lenape-Hoking, and we want to acknowledge their presence in the past and in the continuing and in the future. While we're doing that, let's look at a deed from 1646. This is a pretty rare occurrence. The Sachem of Pemapaca, Megarhondom, is selling, or the Lenape did not sell land, they simply allowed use of it, but that was often taken to be sold. At any rate, the Dutch were in charge then, and Megarhondom is down in Wakako, which is South Philly now. He is the Sachem, or the chief of Pemapaca, but apparently he has the authority in 1646 to make a transfer of that land, and two other Lenape are there with him. Aka Horan, a Sachem of Hatamikan. I don't know where that is, but Reno Ehe is Megarhondom's brother, and later evidence indicates that he was the Sachem of Pennsauken over in Jersey. So there was movement between, obviously, across the river. We tend to think that the Lenape were separate on the Jersey side from the Pennsylvania side. That was not true. Perhaps it was long ago, but by the time the Dutch got here and the Swedes and Penn, there was travel across, and many of the deeds were handled by Lenape who were in Jersey. The mention there of Nassau, called at the house called Nassau, that was over in Jersey on the South River. The Delaware River is the South River. So here we have a Lenape, his name, his place, which is Pennypack Creek, very early on. And I don't know of any other names that we have in the Northeast of a Lenape who is apparently living here. Okay, here is we'll get onto the maps. This is if you Google map, Google search Northeast Philadelphia, you will get that map on your left. I hope you can see these maps okay, but, well, I can see them. So we have, it looks like, and it is, Northeast is pretty much split up by Pennypack Creek, which runs through the middle of it. but there isn't really a political division there. It is just Pennypack Creek and Pennypack Park. So on the left, we have the northeast, what Google says is Northeast Philadelphia, and it is. We agree with that. It runs from Frankfort Creek on the southeast, southwest, up to Poquessing Creek on the northeast, and then we have the different current neighborhoods, Somerton, Bustleton, and on. And Bridesburg is sometimes considered part of the Northeast, mainly because in 1956, the Frankfort Creek was realigned to go below Holmesburg, below Bridesburg. It had gone right there. That was the original path of Frankfort Creek, but they diverted it to go enter the river about at the Betsy Ross Bridge. Okay, these are the maps. These are the neighborhoods on the 1862 map. They filled it out pretty well. That's the way it looks. If all these people were there in 1862, they weren't. Many of these neighborhoods, such as Ronhurst, Mayfair, Lawncrest, would not. Millbrook, certainly Parkwood, would not have been neighborhoods back in 1862. The main neighborhoods would have been Bustleton, Somerton, Holmesburg, Fox Chase, Frankfort, Bridesburg, Tacony. Sonoma was certainly there. Byberry, the airport wasn't. Home Circle wasn't. Okay, here's the next map after 1862 going forward is the 1876 Hopkins map of the 23rd Ward. Same layout, same 23rd Ward. Notice, if you can read there, the XXX rocks, hen and chickens. Those are the hen and chicken rocks. That the story goes that Philadelphia was on the short list for the site of the city was around between Poquessing Creek and Pennypack Creek. This was a story that was given back in yes. A green station wagon left their lights on in the parking lot. Green station wagon. Do they make those anymore? Well, there you go. Cheryl, is that yours? Okay. Well, maybe it turned green. Hen and chicken rocks the story goes that due to the hen and chicken rocks, Philadelphia would not be sited between Pennypack Creek and Poquessing Creek because boats couldn't get past the rocks. That doesn't sound like a very good reason. The much better reason is there wasn't a decent river there like the Schuylkill. They may have thought that the Pennypack was big before they got here, and may have thought the Poquessing was big before they got here. But once they got here, they realized it wasn't. Nevertheless, those hen and chicken rocks are very useful. As on the next map, we will see that. But this is the first map of New Netherland. Cornelius Hendricks in 1616 comes up the Delaware River here. This is the Delaware Bay. Comes up. We can't see where we are. I mean, there's no indication of where Northeast Philly or Pennypack Creek would be. It's a very crude map. It's undetermined exactly when it takes its 90-degree turn up here. Nevertheless, it is the first map. And this is the second map of 1839. It's actually a map of 1639 is when it was published, printed, but it probably is a copy of a map of around 1629 and even before, perhaps 1625. It shows up here at the top, and as you can see in this large blow up here, a creek that has exactly the same curvature of Pennypack Creek. And this is almost 400 years ago. Not only that, it has 3 X's right there. It also has Rancocas Creek right across from it. And that has to be Pennypack Creek. It also is probably a creek that whoever did the map, the original map, Johannes Vingbooms was a painter primarily, a watercolorist. He would take maps or charts and enhance them. Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure he tried to be accurate, but he was certain if he wasn't, somebody was taken with Pennypack Creek. They went up far enough to see exactly how it went, so that's pretty impressive. Here is some more proof of that Pennypack, that being Pennypack Creek. This is a 1843 Ellet map of Philadelphia of the 23rd of all of Philadelphia. The 23rd ward is up here with these 4 townships, and you can see Pennypack Creek here. The X's. The Frankfurt Creek is right here. It's definitely there. This is Petty's Island. It can't be anything else. It's got this. It's right there in this hook. Rancocas Creek. Rancocas Creek is over here. Schuylkill River is here. This aligns perfectly with the 1843 map and with current maps as well, which is amazing that map of 1629 would be that accurate. Okay, here's a 1655 map. It's a Swedish map. Peter Lindstrom was here on the Delaware River in 1654 and 55 and did this interesting map, that an intestinal map perhaps, but it is Delaware Bay and then going straight up and to the right. So, but it gets the job done. This is 1655. He was on the river and visiting these creeks, and also recording Lenape presence. There, he mentioned villages on the Poquessing Creek and on Pennypack Creek. Here is that same 1843 map, Ellet's map, showing how clearly these 1655 map aligns with current 1843 and as well as current maps. There's Rancocas Creek right there. There's Pennypack Creek, Tamapaca Kill. This is the first time we see the name of the creek written, with the exception of that 1646 deed, which didn't really tell where Pennypack Creek was. The Eleskin River, Eleskin Killen, is Frankfurt Creek. The Lenape name for it was, well, it meant eel, where the eels were or are. That's the purpose. Oh, that's the reason that has that name. Petty's Island again is there, and the Schuylkill River is named, and both places. So again, that's clear proof that Pennypack Creek is on these very early 17th century maps. Okay, here's another 17th century map, late 17th century map, and this is the map that really gets us going. This is Thomas Holmes' map. He is called Thomas Holmes' map because he was a surveyor. He probably did not draw it. He was partially blind by the time this map was drawn, but he was the administrator of all the deeds that went into this and the surveys that went into this map. Jim Schomper will be giving a talk on this next month on Thomas Holmes and on this map. Please mute your microphone at home. So this is Thomas Holmes' map of the improved part of the province of Pennsylvania in America. It goes up to about Perkiomen Creek here. That's Perkiomen Creek. This is the 3 main counties are Chester County, Philadelphia County, and Bucks County. This is a bit of Newcastle County, which will go into Delaware eventually. The Quakers in Chester County are much more organized than either Philadelphia or Bucks. Bucks is better than Philadelphia. Philadelphia was really paying attention to the city. And so consequently, a lot of the land, most of it is in the Northeast, was just almost neglected. They weren't bothering with it. We can see, we'll have a close up here. This is the manor of Moreland, which we obviously get the name of the township Moreland, Byberry, Lower Dublin, and Oxford. And this is the way it will look after after Montgomery County is taken out of the county, or most of Philadelphia County becomes Montgomery County. So that's when we get this alignment here. Again, this is Frankfort Creek, Loquesson Creek, Winnipeg Creek going up the middle. Okay, this is the next map. Going chronologically, 1759 Nicholas Skull. This is right as the French Indian War is going on, as this map is printed. Probably a lot of the surveying was done while the war was going on, the 7 years war, French Indian War. I mentioned here that Perkiomen Creek is in red. You probably can't see it. It's right there. That just shows you how much Pennsylvania has expanded from 1687 to 1759. It's just Pennypack Creek running up here. So Nicholas Skull was a surveyor general at that time. He was also involved in surveying the walking purchase of 1737. So here is Skull's map, a detail blow up of the area that we're talking about, and that would be how the 23rd Ward, today's Northeast Philadelphia, will be taken out of, or it shows up on the 1759 Skull map. At that time, Montgomery County hadn't come into being, but you can see Byberry and Lower Dublin, Oxford, and Moreland is up here because most of the township of Moreland is above that line. This line here is basically Pine Road. Okay, next map is 1792. This is the Reading Howell map, really excellent map of basically the entire state, 1792. They're learning a lot more as time goes by. The French Indian War is over, the Revolution is over. But during all that time, surveyors are out there gathering more and more data on how Pennsylvania is actually laid out. Here we go to a close-up of Montgomery County, which has come into being in 1784, right after the Revolution. The people further up in Philadelphia County did not want to have to pay taxes to keep Philadelphia going. They wanted to have their own county to pay taxes to, which was certainly reasonable. But the way it got broken up, or the way it got the boundaries finalized, is kind of, absurd. What happens is there were two proposals. The first, Plan A, was to take just Philadelphia City almost down in here. They were going to go up Frankfort Creek, cross over, and then over to the Schuylkill, or actually to Cobb's Creek, and come on down to the Delaware River, and that would be Philadelphia County, which is basically the city at that time, and certainly is now. That plan was shot down. Philadelphia wanted a little more land than that. The next plan is a fairly reasonable plan to go up to the top of Horsham and come across to the Schuylkill River, splitting Montgomery County. Montgomery Township and Horsham Township and White Marsh and Plymouth townships. That makes pretty good sense there. And had that happened, had either one of those happened, Philadelphia Northeast would have been, well, in the first case, Plan A, Philadelphia Northeast Philly would have been in Montgomery County. In Plan B, they wouldn't have been sitting out all alone, as the next slide will show, without much support from the city or certainly from Montgomery County. As we can see here, that if you look at the square miles, the area, Philadelphia County lost about 78% of its land in that. So what happens is the Northeast, these four townships of Byberry, Moreland, Lower Dublin, and Oxford are all alone and basically thumbing it to Bucks County. I don't know that they were actually asking to be part of Bucks County, though I have heard that. But they were going to have to pretty much fend for themselves. They were too far away from Philadelphia, which was still obsessed with the city. Germantown was very close and had always gotten along very well. They had road, the Germantown Pike had gone in immediately, the Germantown Road. So these four counties are sitting out there alone as of 1784. This is the next maps after 1792. This is the next map. There are more maps of Pennsylvania, but we're not really interested in those. We're going to look at some excellent maps of Philadelphia County. This is the first one in 1819. John Mellish, a Swedish, a Scotsman, convinced the governor, to give him, pay for this map, and it's a great map. It shows obviously the four townships: Byberry, Moreland, Lower Dublin, and Oxford. These townships are still in effect in the county. There are other townships as well. There's a total of 13, such as Germantown, Roxborough, Bristol. This is the Northern Liberties here. This is Penn Township, which will become Spring Garden. This is Blockley. I'm sorry, that was Bristol Township. This is Blockley here, or Blockley. And this is South Philly down here, Southwark. If we look at, there's a statistical table you might have noticed here on Mellish's map. So it gives us an opportunity to see how our four townships fit into the rest by area. Almost 31% of the county is Northeast Philly. That would still be the case. However, the population was only 4%. Needless to say, there was not many people living up in Northeast Philly, particularly Byberry and Moreland just had very few people. That was further away from the city. So the population is about 4%. By 2020, the population of the Northeast is about 25%. So a lot more people coming up in Northeast Philly. Also notice that there are 4 post offices in Philadelphia County. 2 of them are in the Northeast, Holmesburg and Frankfort. And Germantown is not far away. So they still had to get the mail up here, whether there were people here or not. Another interesting thing on this map, and these are the 4 close-up of the 4 townships in the Northeast, is the schools are shown on the map. This is, again, still the 1819 Mellish map. And it is right about this time. There's a couple, for some reason, Mellish didn't find any schools in Oxford. I know there were 2 or 3 in Frankfurt alone. So I just put a circle there. This is actually, the school over here would be Alney. But there's, quite a few schools here. And it was right at this time that the Pennsylvania General Assembly passed an act to provide for the education of children at public expense in the city and county of Philadelphia. This was, this is a little bit, needs some clarification. In the city, they would provide education for all children. But in the county, further out in the county, they were just providing children education for poor children. But that would change, but it hadn't changed at this point. At any rate, the Philadelphia is the first school district, and our townships are the fifth section. So that was perhaps the earliest indication of a governmental entity combining the four townships that will eventually make up Northeast Philadelphia, and that they were going to have to work together. And as we see in this article from 1833 United States Gazette, there is a meeting in Bustleton about anti-Jackson activity. So the four townships are sticking together. They had no choice. Our next map is the 1843 Charles Ellet map. We saw a little bit when we were talking about the Petty's Island and Rancocas Creek. So this is a very similar map to Mellish's map. It's later and it has more information on it. But it's again an excellent map. Here are the four townships blown up or zeroed in on, zoomed in, showing Frankfort. Frankfort is now a borough. Frankfort actually became a borough in 1800, and again in 1830 it was enlarged. So it is not a township. It had been an Oxford township, but it is separate from the township. It has its own government. There's Oxford, Lower Dublin, Moreland, and Byberry. Okay, the next set of maps are three independent maps. Well, somewhat independent. Two of them are made by the same guy, Sidney, and of the townships. These are excellent maps for this early late 1840s. Probably this from surveys obviously done in the mid 40s, and they give for the first time. You can see some acreage. How much Henderson had 67 acres, and place names. Here we have zoomed in on our historic churches. Oxford, Trinity Oxford Church on Oxford Ave in Oxford. Needless to say, our Pennypack Baptist Church, where we are tonight, is right here in Henderson. It has the farm behind us. You can still see the barn. Henderson's barn would be right here. Church is here. The sexton's house is right there. And then up in Byberry, we have Byberry Meeting, which had been there at that location since 1693. Pennypack Baptist had been here since 1688. Trinity Oxford went in about 1700, but there was a church. Well, there's a log cabin church there, kind of Quaker mixture in the late 1690s. Okay, we get to the city consolidation. They consolidate the city and the county in 1854-55. This was again done kind of similar to Montgomery County pulling out of Philadelphia County. It was done for tax reasons. The people in up here in the 23rd, well, the 23rd Ward wasn't yet, but the people up here, those are four townships, felt that they were not getting enough attention from Philadelphia, and certainly they weren't. And this was about the only way to resolve that. And also it was crime, fire prevention, many things were leading to a need to have the city and county consolidated. So that's what these two maps show. They're basically the same map, but the interesting thing is that the 23rd Ward, which will go into effect in 1855 with the consolidation, and will consolidate our four townships, but also goes down into Bristol Township and into Kensington. That was a little strange. I don't know why they resolved it fairly quickly. By 1861, they decided just to combine those townships. And here you can see on the 1862 Smedley that that's a township there. I'm sorry, it's a ward. So we have the 23rd ward. This is the 25th ward, and various other wards. So here's the 23rd ward from Frankfort Creek to Folkwesting Creek, from basically Pine Road to the river, just as we define Northeast today. It is not called Northeast. There's no mention of Northeast until quite a bit later, and it's somewhat confusing as to where Northeast Philadelphia is. We'll get into that. So here's the 1862 map again. This is after the consolidation. Here is the next map is the 1876 Hopkins map. From 1876 to 1954, there are a series of property atlases or cadastral maps that come into being, and they are excellent. What they are is, in this case, we have about 20 different sections of the 23rd Ward. And you can go to this on PhilaGeo History, click on that M, and go to a section. Click on here the K that will take you to Holmesburg. Here is where you would go to, and this is the plate for Holmesburg. Plate K gives a very nice description of Holmesburg, with the mill down here, the race, and land owners, how much property they had. These are just fascinating maps to go through all of the neighborhoods at that time, or sections. They weren't all neighborhoods. Really, only around this time, Holmesburg, Fox Chase, Bustleton, and Byberry, and Somerton had come into being by then, and Frankfort, of course. Here is Somerton, also called Smithfield. The name Somerton had just come into being about this time, actually earlier. But this is the Bustleton Avenue coming out of I don't know what this road is. I can't see it, but Bustleton Ave is a very old road. It was laid out in 1693. So here is the section up here above, at the very upper corner of Northeast Philly and of the 23rd Ward. The railroads have just come in. This is a railroad that is now the West Trenton line going through Somerton. They call it mistakenly the Newtown and Philadelphia Railroad. It is not. It was at that time called the New York and Boundbrook line, but it went in 1776 to get people down to the Centennial, which was 1876, down to Fairmount Park and the Centennial. These railroads, there's a big push to get railroads in at that time. The next of those atlases I mentioned, series of atlases, is 1894, and we see that the 23rd Ward is now 2 wards. The 23rd is just Frankfort, and the rest of what we call Northeast Philadelphia today is the 35th Ward. So things are moving along. That again, people want to split, get away from certain. They wanted Frankfort wanted to be independent, and these people up here wanted to not have to be paying for Frankfort. This is one of the. This is plate 18 from the 1894 Bromley along Tacony Creek. Got the 22nd Ward down here. The 23rd is over here. This is Frankfort. The 35th is up in here. This is the railroad has come into Frankfort in 1893. It comes off of the Philadelphia Newtown Railroad at Crescentville. So this is got Friends Hospital here. A nice blow up of of a section, plate 18. Here's plate 28 up in the far corner of the northeast, Mechanicsville, still there today, known as Mechanicsville, Byberry, of course, with the right there where the meeting house is, but still compared to all of there's quite a bit of activity down here near Frankfurt, but up here it's still not much going on, not many roads. It's all farmland, and it will stay farmlands for another 60 years. Here is the 1910 Smith Atlas, same kind of atlas, cadastral. Click on what you can go to Village Geohistory, click on one of those numbers and go to that area. Now we have 3 wards in the northeast, the 23rd, the 35th, and the 41st ward along the river, south, or rather east of Frankfurt Avenue. So Holmesburg is like split up between the 35th and the 41st. Let's look at a couple of the plates from there. This is the plate 28, and this is in the area where Thomas Home is buried on Home Avenue. Home Avenue hasn't gone in, but it is shown there, proposed road is going to go in, and that is going to be Home Avenue for sure, and it does go in. This is in 1910. Okay, here's one map I kind of throw in that's a little bit before that 1910 map. This is 1901, and the interesting thing here, this is a atlas for North, called the North District or the Northern District. It shows the Northeastern District. And that is, as far as I could have seen, that's the first time that our area up here, northeast of Frankfurt Creek, is called the Northeast. It's called the Northeastern District. It isn't called specifically Northeast Philly, but they're certainly leaning towards that. And it is all above the creek. Down here is called the Northern District. Kensington is in the Northern District. Okay, so let's look a little bit. When do we first start seeing some of these, some references to Northeast Philly? The first one I could find was 1883 in the Lancaster Daily Intelligencer, talking about different a mission, a Methodist Episcopal Church mission that was getting money from different sections of Philadelphia, and one of them was Northeast Philly, and they had given more than any, or more of a larger increase than the other 4 sections, North Philly, South Philly, and West Philly. So North Philadelphia is mentioned there as Northeast Philadelphia. Where it is, I mean, what does it include? We don't know. Probably it includes Kensington, because Kensington really had been always, well, it was always northeast of Philly. So as was the Northern Liberty. So if you're just going to say Northeast Philly, you are going to, or Northeast Philadelphia, you're going to go to Kensington. And if you keep going, you'll eventually get up to Byberry. But not many people kept going. In 1884, we see Philadelphia Inquirer article, a charter for a business called the Northeast Philadelphia Land Building and Loan Company has gone in, has become chartered. Most of their activity was in Kensington. That's where they were selling their land. I couldn't find any instance of them selling land in what we call the Northeast. Nevertheless, the term is being used. Here's a good one from 1897, Memorial Day weekend. We're in preparation for Memorial Day. Post 334 is up Northeast Way, and they're going to decorate graves in the extreme Northeast Philadelphia. That would probably be up here. They may have been decorating these, many of these graves out in this graveyard on that day. So that's up Northeast Way, and we've got extreme Northeast Philadelphia. Here's an interesting one from 1901 that mentions Northeast Philadelphia without capitalizing the N, but the Grant Avenue is going in, and they seem to think it might be ultimately extending to Ogons, which, Grand Avenue doesn't come very close to doing that. Let me get another microphone. Okay. Hello. Hello. What happened, Lou? Maybe this battery ran out? Okay, we back in? Yeah, okay. All right. Did I hit that? I don't think so. Okay, hold on. I got to turn this other one off. This is running pretty smoothly, by the way. I don't know how many people have been here before. Well, believe me, it doesn't run this smoothly. It's been a long time. It was a long summer. We forgot how bad we were. Grant Avenue, it's not going to go to Ogons, but the suggestion that it might certainly sounds like maybe that thing isn't working. Let me try this. Hold on. Yeah, I know. I can see. Hello. Okay. I think the battery went dead in the transmitter. So, okay. Okay, here we are. Grant Avenue is not going to go to Ogons, but that indication, suggestion of Roosevelt Boulevard, which doesn't really go to Ogons either, but a lot closer than just going to Bustleton, which Grant Avenue does. So that's an interesting thing, and again mentioning Northeast Philadelphia. But again, and this certainly is in Northeast Philadelphia. Okay, this isn't in Kensington. Here's how far the how far the boulevard went in 1914. It was conceived in 1903, but it had made it as far as Pennypack Circle. And when it made it that far, they thought they had completed it, apparently, and they had intended to go to Tarsdale, but it wasn't going to make it to Tarsdale, so they called it the Northeast Boulevard, not Northeast Philadelphia Boulevard, but Northeast Boulevard. But that was nice. They were giving the Northeast some recognition. But then by 1918, when it had gone and across Pennypack Creek, they went and called it the Theodore Roosevelt Memorial Boulevard, which the short term of that is Roosevelt Boulevard, today's. So this is a nice picture of Pennypack Creek, Pennypack Circle back in 1914. Here is a 1916 map showing the boulevard going just as far as Rawn Street, or Pennypack Circle is just beyond Rawn Street. And it then will continue in these dotted lines over the years and make it all the way to Quessing Creek and into Bucks County. But this is a road map, AAA road map from 1916. Okay, things really get going in 1924 when the Greater Northeast Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce is established. This particular picture here is from their 100th anniversary in 2022, but it shows a 1924 newsletter cover that has these neighborhoods. And as you can see, we are very familiar. Many of these neighborhoods had been in the 23rd Ward, had been before the 23rd Ward. It does have Kensington. It has Alney. It has Bridesburg. We're kind of used to Bridesburg being part of Northeast Philly. Alney is just over the line into Bristol Township, or the old township. So, and Kensington, again, is definitely northeast of Philadelphia. So Kensington is always, or continues to be considered northeast Philadelphia in many instances. Here we have those neighborhoods shown on the Greater Northeast Chamber of Commerce cover, and pointing to where those neighborhoods exist. Some of the pictures are interesting. Byberry is a Ferris wheel. That was for the Philadelphia County Fair, which was up on actually more in Bustleton. it was in Byberry, but Byberry meeting is way down here. You don't normally associate fairs and amusement parks with Byberry, but at that time they were. Uh, uh, some of the others are that are interesting is the train for Holmesburg. Well, it's there. Pleasant Hill, which is another amusement park, beach, Carsdale, a golfer. So this is the way people are thinking of Northeast Philadelphia back in 1924. And this is on another one of those atlases that you can go to at Geohistory and click on one of these numbers and go to see what is there in 1927. Okay, the first time we see Northeast Philadelphia on a map and it comes in as Greater Northeast Philadelphia, is in 1939, Franklin's survey, which is another one of these atlases. We saw the Hopkins Atlas, 1876 Hopkins Atlas. The Franklin Survey Company bought out Hopkins and continued to make atlases, these cadaster atlases. So this is below Pennypack Creek. And this is 1939. They never did do one in 1939 for above Pennypack Creek, but they finally got around to it in 1953. And then did also another one for below Pennypack Creek. So 54 and 53 and 54, Franklin atlases come out. Again, Greater Northeast, not specifically Northeast. Also, notice on this map, on the we're looking at volumes 6 and 7. Volume 5, which I couldn't find, obviously contains quite a bit of Frankfurt, like all of Frankfurt. This is Cheltenham Avenue. This is Castor Ave. That is all of Frankfurt is in Volume 5, which I can't imagine was also called Greater Northeast, but it could have been. Since I couldn't find it, I don't know what it was called. But so we're still having Kensington being part of Northeast Philadelphia, or certainly associated with Frankfurt. Here's a 1950 the Philadelphia City Planning map for some proposed major streets going into NE Philadelphia. This is probably the first time that we see NE Philadelphia. Of course, we're assuming that means Northeast Philadelphia. I think that's a safe assumption. But this is, as far as I can tell, the first map that is showing is called Northeast Philadelphia is called Northeast Philadelphia. Some of these roads, I guess this is 95 is being thought of in 1950. This looks like a Woodhaven Road here. I don't know exactly what that road is. This is certainly the boulevard. Oh, you think this is Grant? Not. Well, it wasn't. Okay. I think that might be a little far up for that. But these are it's important. Northeast Philadelphia is important, right? Yes. 1961, we have many more awards have gone in. The 23rd, 35th, and 41st, which we had seen back in 1910, have now been expanded. 53 through 58 have been added. Up in the old part is here. 23 is Frankfurt. 35 is up in Lawndale. 41 is still along the river. But as we go up further into the Northeast, they have more numbers going in. So this is another map, another interesting map. Again, no mention of Northeast Philadelphia. Boom. Okay, here's 2024. We're getting close to the end here. We're in 2024. Now, and these are the words in our section above Frankfurt Creek, which is almost true, except down here in 45 is really part of, I think there's a little bit of Frankfurt in there. Mostly it's Bridesburg. And this is the diversion of the creek, or the realigning of Frankfurt Creek. This would be up in here, would be all of these above here, 23, so I have 23, 35, 41, and all these others would be what we generally consider Northeast Philadelphia, or we want to consider Northeast Philadelphia. Here is the 2035, and now we're going into the future. This is the 2035 plan, which I was a little concerned when I started looking at it. I thought maybe they would ruin Northeast Philly, but no, I think they're going to hold on to it. The top one is called Upper Far Northeast. This one is Lower Far Northeast. This one is Central Northeast. This one is Lower Northeast. And somehow they took the river, what they're calling the North Delaware. They took Northeast Philadelphia out of that name. We'll have to see if we can get that fixed. But otherwise, this is Northeast is there. This is definitely Northeast Philly. So in 2035, they're going to retain Northeast Philly. Our history will be the same. We're not going to lose our history. Our history will stay important, and we will stay important. This is the final slide. I mentioned Jim Duffin's interactive map of 1777 landowners. This is how much he has done so far. You have Moreland Township, the original Moreland Township from Holmes' map. Here's Byberry Township, Lower Dublin. Lower Dublin is Lower Dublin Township. Abington was actually called Second Dublin Township, and then there was Upper Dublin Township, and he's got about half of those. Each one of these colors are owners, landowners, property owners, and most of them will have, if you click on it, you can find reference to the deed that shows them as a landowner. Finding the deeds isn't so easy, but stick with it. You can do it for most of them. So Cheltenham Township, these are all the townships of 1777. Many of them, and of course in 1777, Montgomery County hadn't come into being. So we can go on up to Perkiomen Creek, I guess, but I don't think he's going to do that. So that is it. We have gone through 400 years of Northeast Philadelphia history. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, somebody has to be chat questions. Okay. Okay. Well, you have. Oh, that's right. This. Yeah, the mics don't work. They aren't. You're right. They're not. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Good. Any questions? Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. We'll take that thought and put it over there. Okay. Any other thoughts? Yeah. No, it was named after. What was it?
The question was, is Grant Avenue named after President Grant? And the answer is no. There was a man named Samuel Grant who was a businessman in the late 1800s or early 1900s who owned a property right on the Delaware River at the foot of Grant Avenue where it meets the river. And Grant Avenue was named after him. While I have the microphone, I forgot to mention at the introductions that all our talks are recorded and put on our YouTube channel for later viewing. So if you go to YouTube and you search for Northeast Philadelphia History Network, you can find all our talks. So this talk will be on there. And the other thing is that this screen and projector are, as you notice, like very kind of poor resolution. And a lot of the maps that Fred was showing, you couldn't read them. But when you see it online, it's the way it looks on the computer. It's very crisp and clear. So if you do check the talk out on YouTube, you'll see much clearer images of those maps.
We can have refreshments, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred. And obviously, you can now leave here knowing where Lower Dublin is. Did it ever occur to you that there was an upper but no lower? We're standing in it, right? I want to just let you know that on Saturday, both the 7th and 8th police districts are having community days, and the Friends of Northeast Philadelphia will be represented at both of them. So if you're in the area, it's starting about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock on the other side of Boulevard, 11 o'clock here till about 2 o'clock. So if you're in the area, stop by, see us. And the one here is at Bustleton and Bowler. The one in the 8th district, where is it? I just knew. It's at one of the churches. No, it's not at the district. It's Christ the King Church. Thank you. So they're inside. This side's outside. So it'll probably rain on this side of the boulevard and not the other side of the boulevard. That's my luck because I'll be at this side. So thank you very much for attending. And I don't know about you, but it's very interesting to me to see the political development of this as it goes on, where we will have almost no representation and then there's lots and lots of representation. Well, we don't have as much as we should maybe, but we certainly have more than we did. So thank you, Fred. That was a tour to 400 years and sets us up for the next couple of meetings. So we hope to see you in October. Thank you.